Hello, world.
Hello, world.
All right, we're on a good topic right now with mental illness and family and all this stuff. So take it away. What do you got to say about all that?
All right. So, mental illness is a large part of my life. Not really individually. I mean, I say anyone, a lot of people struggle with it, but I have a lot of people in my life that are, have anxiety or depression, and it's really hard to assess ways to go about handling the situations that involve their mental illness.
Mm.
Do I look at the camera?
You
Do I
don't have
look
to.
at you?
Hey, look at
Okay.
me, man. Look at me. Be comfy.
So I am often thinking about it because I'm extremely analytical about life, and I try to figure out whether I should. Obviously, I think you need to create boundaries with anyone, but whether to keep pressing in the relationship or to kind of like back off, and
Mm.
especially actually, I think with different mental illnesses, backing off is actually a strategy that is used in the sense of like giving them space because
Justin, I'm sorry.
go
My
ahead.
wife is flagging me for something.
I was just asking if it's okay if I do dishes.
Oh, sure.
Is it?
Yeah, it'll be alright. These are mostly directional microphones. And this is all just
I only have a few
experimenting
more things to put in
anyways,
the
so.
dishwasher.
Alright.
Sorry.
It's okay. As long as you can stick around to hit record when it turns off and stuff.
I am gonna go to sleep.
Oh, okay. Alright. I'll try and keep my ear out.
Okay.
Alright, hurry
I'm sorry.
So does your phone time out when
up. Because of the way that the solid state storage on these devices work, they're writing mass amounts when it's recording video, and they can only keep up that pace for about 15 minutes worth of video, and then it stops. And we had the same issue when we tried recording for like church and stuff. It would do the same thing, and it would just always cut out.
even on like a live video?
Well, the live video was the workaround. If we
Okay.
wanted to record it and have like good sound that we could sync up later and all that,
Actually
um,
edit it, yeah.
yeah, then the writing power eventually like it can't keep up, so it has to stop. So we'll hear it beep every now and then. I'll just have to get up and get that. But the audio is going to continue going.
Will I be able to tell through the reflection if it shuts
Um,
off?
I don't think it'll be obvious enough from there. I think I'll make a pretty distinct beep though.
Okay.
Anyways, sorry for interrupting.
No.
Let's get back to it.
All right. So I I have a hard time deciding whether to dive in deeper in relationships when it comes to that stuff because it's almost like a trust thing because like you trust them with your thoughts, your feelings, your expectations, and if you have expectations for them and they come up short or something happens to where they dash your expectations and then you're just sitting there like that hurt,
Mm.
but what do I do now? Like they're struggling with an illness, and some people would be like, treat it actually like a physical illness where like it obviously takes medicine. You have to expect like these are just like side effects of the disease or of the illness,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously side effects can hurt. So it's always hard because you want to set boundaries with people, but you also want to love them and you also want to help them as much as you can, and then you end up being you should never end up being solely responsible for their good feelings or their will to live should not be based off of you and your desires, but you still want to be like that positive influence, that person that's helping them work through their thoughts, and but you have to sometimes set boundaries if they're affecting your life in a way that is damaging to your mental health even like.
Right? Yeah.
So yeah, I just always deliberate about that.
Yeah. It can definitely wear on you if you're always having to be that foundation of of peace for anyone. But it's remarkable that you mentioned you've been around so many examples of it throughout your life. It's almost like, is that because everyone has a degree of mental illness and just some of us do something about it, some of us don't, and it's like,
I think that there's actually a portion of that that's definitely true. I think that when it comes to mental health in general, I don't know, maybe if you define it as a mental illness, but you need to take care of your mental health in every situation. I think it's different because the older generations, I don't know what happened to them to where they had to like close that part of them off,
mm,
but you see a lot of them just like not actually like they don't like feel anymore.
mm,
I don't know, they're kind of numb when they are upset at this new generation because they're all touchy feely and they're emotional and they can't just like put up and shut up and just do the work and just push through and like we went through this. I had to walk through the snow to get to school. Like
right, right, that
there's
whole
the
thing.
whole idea that you can just fix everything in life by having mental toughness,
Hmm.
which I think mental toughness is really helpful because I think that I wouldn't have been able to get through a lot of things in my life if it wasn't for that,
Mm,
because you have to have the perseverance of of always being on the other end of it. You can't give up, like, and that's something that is definitely important to everyone in life, but we do need to take that stuff more seriously in the way of medication or therapy or whatever, because I think that every person is kind of goes through it. Like
hmm.
it's just surprising sometimes when you hear like, oh yeah, like I you just hear from a random person like they either committed suicide or they had suicidal thoughts or they attempted to commit suicide, and you're like, I never would have thought that. And
Yeah,
then you realize, what are these people like going through in their heads when you're not there?
right.
When they're around people, obviously they seem to be okay and everything's good, but then something's dark going on in their head when they're by themselves or when they're thinking in their own head. I don't know, man. It's just, I think that it is way more of a prevalent issue, and there's a lot of reasons why it probably is. Society, some would say that the chemicals within our food and everything
Yeah,
else that we use has had some kind of influence on it.
right.
Um, so I don't know why it's a bigger issue than it was.
Yeah. Mental toughness is definitely a really good tool to have, like you said, for those hard times, to be able to draw that from your utility belt and be like, okay, I need to be tough right now, and then like I can deal with how I felt about everything later or
Mm,
whatnot, because there might be some urgency in getting through something. Um, but I think if you ride that forever, if you ride that for too long, whatever, you start to now put up like a fake front that you bury the real you so far
mm.
down that I don't know, maybe it just ends up being expressed through bitterness or
Mm. Anger
any,
or
yeah, I guess anger. I was trying to think of something more consistent.
well, I
Anger's
think
more
I
like,
think if you maybe whatever the outcome of like numbness is or
hmm,
like you just don't care
yeah,
anymore about
yeah,
things. Your
mm,
passion for life in general is kind of like, I just have to get through this. I have to go to work. I have to make sure I pay the bills, and that's your passion for life is to just get through it.
yeah. And you mentioned the generational thing. I think I don't know what to think about that. I think maybe there's a slow overall softening of humanity
Okay.
as time goes on, but I think you can also see a repeat cycle of the older generation thinking that the younger generation is just all
Yeah.
all just soft and unable to face reality and stuff because there was I wish I knew the name off the top of my head of this guy that like pulled up old recordings that he used to do of of like interview kind of mini documentary things of people during the time, and these were videos from like the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and the old people back then were saying the same thing that the old people 50 years plus later
Mhm.
are saying.
Oh, those damn hippies.
It's like, yeah, there's something recycling itself every time that you have a new wave of young adults, but I think it's safe to say there is an overarching, general, gradual softening,
I,
or just awareness. I think
mm,
of you know how you could be feeling in a certain situation, and actually thinking like, oh, maybe I can connect that to this thing
mm.
and solve something.
I think knowledge definitely has grown about like I've heard from someone, I don't know how true this is, but they said that there was only like two like diagnosed mental illnesses. It was like you're either like crazy or I can't even remember the other one, but it was just like there's like two options and that was it. Like now there's like so many names and definitions for all
Yeah.
these different kinds of things. And so I think part of it is knowledge. We know more, we can identify more, and
Hmm.
maybe that's why we see more. But also, like I guess like our lives have become considerably easier, even though we go through a lot and we still struggle with a lot of things that go on in life because drama is always going to happen with people involved.
Hmm.
But just if you think about it, people would work I don't know, like 16-hour days every 7 days a week, working for a nickel or whatever it was at
Yeah.
the time, and they couldn't even feed their family with that money.
Right.
And it's like the fact that the majority of the people in the US at least live in air conditioned homes. We have internet, we can contact anyone across the world at any point. There's so much things that are easier about our lives than it used to be. Um for like older generations. So maybe they even had to be tougher in a way
Yeah.
because they had, to me, a lot more to deal with. And you know we get to go on computers all the time. We get free access to water whenever we want it. We get,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not necessarily free because we're paying for it a little bit, but you just have everything's just easier, and you can do like fun things like where they didn't. I don't even think that there was like fun things to do for the most part.